Again? Why? When will SpaceX catch the first booster? Cybertruck spotted at Starbase, Elon Musk reveals new Starship info, and Gravitics is working on a revolutionary space station. My name is Felix, welcome to What About It? Let's dive right in. Starship updates. Now will you take a look at this? That is what the launch site looks like right now. It's all destacked again, we cannot have a break. On October 5th, the second orbital stack was split apart yet again. Why? We've got two theories. The optimistic take is that SpaceX is gearing up to install the flight termination system, hinting that the updated launch license is just days away from being released. Tough to say when, but when it does drop, SpaceX wants the Starship ready. The suborbital part of the launch site has some good news for us. It appears that work on Ship 26 has wrapped up. The prototype is no longer attached to the crane. This time it will likely stay that way for quite some time. And why do we know that? All thanks to closures recently released by Cameron County. By the time you're watching this, the closure for October 9th has already concluded, and depending on how things went, the closures for today and tomorrow are either still in place or have been removed. While we can't predict the future, there is a high chance that these road closures were used to test Ship 26. It's been a while since the last cryogenic test of this prototype, so it would make sense if Starbase engineers went for a refresh, running another round of pressure tests with Ship 26 to play it safe. The only other option is that they've conducted what's known as a spin prime test. But what about it? What is a spin prime test? It's all about cooling the engines and using a bit of propellant to rev up the engine's turbo pumps. It's a simple check to see if every gear and valve is turning as expected, as otherwise the engine could get damaged during what's next, a static fire. If you're watching such a test, keep an eye out for a small cloud of oxygen escaping from the engine belts. Once you see it, the test was concluded. There is no ignition here, or at least no intentional ignition. After this important test is checked off from the list, we anticipate a static fire test, firing up all 6 Raptor engines at once, signaling the ship is flight ready. You're watching this on Tuesday, so assuming that Ship 26 underwent a spin prime, a static fire should be just a couple of days away. You may have also noticed the October 4th road closure. What was that all about? Did we miss a static fire? Nope, that closure was for another stainless steel vehicle. It appears that Tesla used this closure for some cinematic moments at Starbase, spotlighting their latest electric car, the Cybertruck. In a jaw-dropping display of the Cybertruck's muscles, it towed a trailer, but not with just any cargo. Meet Vacuum Raptor serial number 305, a shiny SpaceX engine taking a joyride around Starbase. This long-nozzled engine is optimized to run in the vacuum of space, and it looks epic in a Cybertruck commercial. This looks so surreal that I thought these images were depicting some sort of new Matchbox toy when I saw them first. Could this be the Tesla SpaceX package Elon hinted at a couple of years back? My friend Dane found the ignition switch on the Raptor engine. Turns out anything can fly. Last week, SpaceX's CEO Elon Musk shared his latest thoughts on what's happening in Boca Chica and where it's supposed to go. Welcome to the 74th International Astronautical Congress. The IAC, a yearly, very important aerospace event since 1950. It serves as an industry thermometer. You find out what the aerospace industry is up to in 4 extremely interesting days. Here, renowned scientists and space agency leaders converge to dive into upcoming missions, recent space discoveries, and the evolution of space technology. Starship is so large in every regard it can't be skipped, and it wasn't. Elon Musk gave an interview. He opened his speech with a comparison of the Saturn V and Starship's thrust capabilities. Though Saturn V, the rocket that took humanity to the moon, boasts impressive specs, it's overshadowed by Starship. Saturn V's iconic first stage reached a thrust of 7.75 million pounds. In contrast, right now, Starship can muster a whopping 16 million pounds of thrust. But here's the kicker. Once equipped with future Raptor 3 engines, Super Heavy will generate up to 20 million pounds of thrust, nearly tripling Saturn V's output. Musk also shed light on the odds of Starship's upcoming second flight. To him, the flight's most dangerous phase is stage separation. There is lingering concern that the clearance between the ship's engines and the booster's forward dome is too small. In a worst-case scenario, the engines might damage it during separation, causing the whole thing to explode. Next, it was highlighted that the term orbital for the second flight of the Starship might be a bit of a stretch. Due to the sheer size and complexity of Starship, countless things have to go perfectly for it to even get a chance at entering a real orbit. That is why SpaceX is cautious with this flight. The concern is simple. If something goes wrong and control is lost, Starship could unpredictably re-enter Earth's atmosphere, scattering debris over populated areas. To mitigate this, the next Starship flight will be almost orbital. Its lowest point, or perigee, will remain within Earth's atmosphere. This predefined and set path ensures that if there is a loss of control, the ship will re-enter the atmosphere anyway, and exactly where SpaceX wants it to. Over the Pacific, a huge area with virtually no people, there is not much out there. Now here is an exciting tidbit. While initially prototypes aren't slated for recovery, Elon Musk plans to change that surprisingly soon. In less than a year, SpaceX aims to catch the first booster. Technically, there is not much of a difference between a Falcon 9 return to launch site and a Starship Super Heavy booster doing the same. Except for the giant Mechazilla. It should only take the booster 4 to 5 minutes from liftoff to a catch attempt. All of that with Super Heavy's engines running for just around 100 seconds in total. To put that into perspective, a Falcon 9 booster typically takes 8 minutes to return to launch site. Starship will halve that time. However, there is a noteworthy distinction between the two. Falcon 9 undertakes a maneuver known as a suicide burn. It has just the right amount of fuel for a landing. Any miscalculation in that number can result in the booster's demise. It's a high-risk, high-reward type situation. You might crash if you're doing it wrong, but you're very efficient in return. In contrast, Super Heavy will delicately hover between Mechazilla's arms, ensuring precise alignment with the tower. Although this isn't the most fuel-efficient method, it undeniably adds an extra layer of safety. So what about the ship? Epic fireball, belly flap, and then landing? The vision for catching the upper stage of Starship is very much alive. It is key to making the concept of rapid reusability work. However, Starship first needs to perfect its water landings, which is expected to be achieved by the end of 2024. So 12 months from now, that is a very tight timeline. Take all this with a grain of salt. Musk also shared an intriguing detail regarding the fuel ratio between Super Heavy and Starship. That is partly where the 100-second burn time for a booster comes from. Now here's where things get especially interesting. We had speculated that SpaceX might deploy its inaugural Starlink batch with the third orbital stack, that is Ship 28 and Booster 11. However, Musk hints that we should expect the first satellite launch a year from now. This could mean that SpaceX might test the waters with a prototype featuring a payload bay ensuring its stability, and only then pack Ship 29 or even later ones with the expensive cargo. He stated that payload delivery will only happen once Starships can re-enter safely. Elon then shifted the discussion towards Starship's potential to change the world. SpaceX is still determined to build a city on Mars and bases on the Moon. Otherwise, they would just stick to a smaller, simpler rocket. 1 million metric tons to Mars. That is just over 6,600 Starship flights to Mars, assuming each is carrying around 150 tons. But it's 5 times the amount of flights to Leo, as only around 20% of what you bring to Leo can actually continue to Mars. You need to spend fuel to leave Earth. Right now this sounds insane, but in a few years, who knows? We started this channel to bring you all the important news that can be hard to find sometimes, and ground news has been my go-to for finding data-driven and objective facts. Ground News, the brainchild of a former NASA engineer, serves as a crucial tool enabling us to navigate through media biases by consolidating global news in a singular platform, both on the app and the website. Consider the story on India's Mars moon landing. It was covered by more than 300 news outlets around the world. Their bias distribution chart shows me the political leanings of these outlets. I can even get a summary of how the issue is being framed. The left discusses it as a scientific adventure with India joining an elite club, the center as a national event, and the right as a part of a broader international competition in space exploration and a direct triumph over Russia's failed attempt. I can see the context about the source, like how reliable it is and who owns it. The comprehensive view provided by Ground News is invaluable in assessing the global discourse surrounding such advancements in space exploration. Ground News has been a reliable companion in my research endeavors for my videos. It ensures that I stay updated on a myriad of topics, particularly space. Ground News' mission aligns so much with what we do here. Dive deep, understand better, and promote informed discussions. I highly recommend giving Ground News a shot. Go to ground.news/whataboutit, subscribe before October 31st, and snag a 30% discount on unlimited access. A big thank you to Ground News for supporting our channel. The first uncrewed demo mission to Mars with the goal of safely landing is supposed to launch in a mere 3 to 4 years. Again, take it with a grain of salt. To reach the goal of a small self-sustaining city on Mars, Musk envisions a future where launches become even more routine than they are now, with up to 10 liftoffs daily from a single launch pad. That is like a small airport. Factor in additional offshore launch platforms and other launch sites like Florida's Cape Canaveral, and the goal of launching over 6,000 Starships could become more realistic. But there is a catch, pun intended. To transport such immense payloads to Mars, in-orbit refueling becomes crucial, bringing us to the challenges of propellant transfer. Musk believes that the most intricate part isn't the fuel transfer itself, but docking two spacecrafts together. However, thanks to SpaceX's experience from the Dragon ISS dockings, the team is optimistic. Once Martian infrastructure gets off the ground, SpaceX envisions establishing a propellant plant on the Red Planet, which will serve as a refueling hub for Starships. This infrastructure could potentially extend Starship's reach to Saturn's moons and, in the far future, all the way to the Kuiper Belt. Though these aspirations may likely be far in the future, it is intriguing to consider. Starship's impressive size introduces unprecedented opportunities for space science. Musk previously mentioned a collaboration with an undisclosed company to develop a telescope using a Starship as its main body. SpaceX's CEO revealed that the Starship-based telescope will be equipped with an 8-meter or 28-foot wide lens, a component originally intended for an Earth-based telescope. For context, the iconic Hubble Space Telescope is equipped with a 2.4-meter or 8-foot diameter lens. Imagine the possibilities with a lens triple that size. Those were the key takeaways from Elon's IAC presentation. Do you believe that Mars colonization is a feasible goal, or are we destined to remain tethered to Earth? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I am always eager to read them. Quick heads up, YouTube might have unsubscribed you without your knowledge. Not kidding, they seem to do this frequently. Very important task, double check that subscribe button so that you don't miss our updates. While you're checking, hit the like button and consider becoming a wise supporter for exclusive SpaceX updates. Everyone gets the same perks regardless of your contribution. With it, you get access to daily Starbase photo galleries, now including aerial and ground photos of SpaceX's progress and countless other extras on top. The next flyover will likely happen on the day you watch this episode. No matter how much you decide to give, everyone gets the same supporter content and access. You decide what you want to give. The link to our Patreon page is in the description. Thanks to all the supporters who help fulfill dreams for our team. We can't thank you enough. You rock. Earlier in this episode, we talked about Elon Musk's hope that Starship will be able to launch new kinds of payloads. Did you know there is a team ready to develop such a payload? And they've got some fantastic ideas up their sleeves. Meet Gravitics from Seattle, a company aiming to create the building blocks for next-generation space stations. How do they want to achieve that? Good question. This is Starmax. Think of it like a space condo, a one-size-fits-all solution for your space living needs. And the best part, you can launch this entire space dream home using just one Starship. Starmax is a massive cylinder about 8 meters or 26 feet wide and a tad shy of 10 meters or 32 feet tall, made from 4mm thick aluminum. By using this material, they can provide the needed pressure rating whilst keeping the whole thing relatively light. This 8 meter or 26 foot diameter version is obviously designed for a Starship, as there simply isn't any other rocket that could launch this. Gravitics is also considering additional 4 and 6 meter or 13 and 20 feet versions. These could be launched atop ULA's Vulcan or Blue Origin's New Glenn. So how about habitable space inside? Pretty impressive numbers. At 400 cubic meters, this module offers almost half the room of the International Space Station in just one single launch. That is enough space for things like sleeping pods, workstations, and other hardware required for a small single-digit crew. Wrapped around its sturdy aluminum core, Starmax features an external protective layer, equipped to endure space's unforgiving conditions. One of the biggest concerns in orbit is micrometeorites or space debris. This debris can travel at velocities of 8 kilometers per second and faster. That is over 20 times faster than a typical 9mm bullet. Such speeds can pack a devastating punch, capable of puncturing a module and causing catastrophic depressurization, a nightmare scenario in space. Even a simple pebble-sized object can pass right through a metal cylinder with so much potential energy. That is why Gravitics Starmax isn't taking any chances when it comes to shielding. The module will boast a protective 10 cm or 4-inch shield. And it seems to be a 2 metal plate sandwich with a Kevlar bag filled with polyethylene, also known as plastic. However, Gravitics remains tight-lipped about its precise composition, understandable. Despite this strong exterior, they haven't overlooked the aesthetics and functional value of windows, which will come fitted with protective shades to defend against debris. The outer layer will also take care of all utilities, housing wiring, insulation, and solar cells capable of generating up to 8 kilowatts of electricity. For those with more ambitious energy needs, Gravitics even hints at the possibility of adding even more power using deployable panels. Additionally, Starmax is fitted with 4 thrusters, which utilize methane and oxygen as propellant. Their thrust is adjustable, ranging from 4 to 445 newtons, which for context is about the thrust a single Draco engine provides during orbital maneuvers. It might not sound like much, but it is sufficient enough for basic in-space maneuvers. Now that you know the main features of Starmax, you probably have one question. Why metal? Aren't inflatable habitats the way to go? It is a great question. After all, companies like Sierra Space or Blue Origin are working on inflatable modules, so why not just create something that fits into a normal fairing? There are a few reasons as to why a metal-based station might be the better option. First, they are more straightforward to produce. There is no need to develop complicated, stretchy materials. Just get an aluminum sheet, a few seasoned welders, and voila, the main hull is done. This also means that automating such a process isn't that complicated. Moreover, it negates complexities related to in-orbit assembly, as everything can be pre-installed and tested on Earth. The deployed module is ready to operate. At the beginning of this section, I mentioned that Gravitics is developing building blocks for next-generation space stations. While the Starmax is already impressive as a standalone unit, the grand vision, however, extends beyond a singular module. The ultimate idea is to link multiple units in series, forming a massive space station. This integration will be made possible thanks to specialized docking ports, which will allow these modules to easily interconnect. The potential here is huge. Envision habitats spacious enough for dozens of people, complete with designated sleep zones, greenhouses, and work zones. Perhaps it may even evolve into a von Braun type station in the distant future. So what is this all about? Is it just renders, or do they really have any hardware? Yes, they do. Check this out. Starting with the smaller elements, they've already tested the thrusters. And not just once, this tiny rocket engine was fired at least 40 times. The aforementioned metal sandwich also exists and has completed a first round of testing at the Hypervelocity Impact Laboratory in Texas. Within a span of merely 6 weeks, Gravitics have also assembled the first Starmax prototype. While this one was used to polish the manufacturing process, more are soon to come. Meanwhile, we've also glimpsed at a Starmax's interior with the first real-life mock-up built back in April. Finally, over the last few weeks, the company subjected their widest prototype to some intense pressures. This prototype withstood a 90-minute exposure to 14.9 psi, akin to the atmospheric pressure on the International Space Station and here on Earth. Subsequent testing increased the pressure to 17.6 psi and later to 22.8 psi, culminating at a staggering 26.4 psi, where it remained for 12 minutes with no damage to the prototype. Given these promising outcomes, it seems Gravitics is ready to move on to larger test vessels. It is expected that the first commercially available module will be ready in 2026, and I have to say what they are doing looks really exciting, so fingers crossed it will work out. It is important to emphasize that Gravitics is concentrating on three main tasks right now: the pressure vessel, the space armor shielding, and propulsion. All the interior shots you saw are merely suggestions to open imagination. Hull, armor, and propulsion have to come first. Speaking of pressure testing, let's pivot to the latest progress surrounding Rocket Lab's Neutron. For quite some time now, they've been designing a rocket aimed at competing with SpaceX's Falcon 9. Neutron boasts a fully reusable first stage capable of returning to the launch site and touching down on distant drone ships. Its second stage, on the other hand, is easily distinguishable by a unique hippo-like fairing. Now that's a payload bay. For the last few weeks, our attention was riveted on their second stage cryogenic test stand, which sprung into action in early October. After the carbon fiber test tank was anchored at the pad, they filled it to the brim with liquid nitrogen, something every Starship fan should be familiar with. What followed was the kind of revelation that keeps rocket enthusiasts on their toes. The tank was subjected to its peak projected operating pressure, and it absolutely aced the test. But they didn't stop there. The dial was turned up to 11 until the tank could no longer withstand the pressure, leading to a spectacular nitrogen burst. Keep in mind that it was a planned test to destruction, so not a failure. Rocket Lab is already working on the next second stage tank, however there is still so much stuff to do that I wouldn't expect Neutron's maiden launch in 2024. That's it for today. Remember to smash that like button, subscribe for more awesome content. This is what fuels the algorithm and helps us immensely. Check out our epic shirts in your favorite Space Nerd store. A link is in the description. And if you want to train your space IQ even further, watch this video next to continue your journey. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again in the next episode. Gathering debris over populated area. Unpredictably. Auntie's rocket. Oh. Subsequent testing increased the pressure to 70. I'm sorry.